Thanks for joining me for this video about quadratic equations. In this video, I will show how to use the quadratic formula. Now, we have videos that show the derivation of the quadratic formula, as well as the meaning of and some explanation of what the discriminant means. This is our discriminant thing inside the square root here. But in this video, I just want to walk through how to use the formula. When we see this formula for the first time, the first thing we think is just, what? What is this? And so let's first demystify it by just using it simply and comparing it to graphic results. So this video will just be one simple example of using the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation. So we'll look at 2x squared plus 4x minus 6 equals 0. And I have a graph of that quadratic function here. So here we have y equals 2x squared plus 4x minus 6. And when we try to solve graphically, we know we're looking for where our graph of the function crosses the x-axis, so where y equals 0. So you see here that we get two solutions, one at plus 1, and the second one here is at negative 3. So x equals negative 3 and 1 are solutions from the graphic method. The graphic method is tedious, so really using the quadratic formula is a better plan, and we just have to learn how to use it. So you see in this formula that we have the letters A, B, C, and then we have something called x1, 2, subscript 1 and 2. So let's explain each element. So x1, 2 are the two solutions. We have x1, which is the first solution, and x2 is the second solution. So you can have two solutions for a quadratic equation, just like in this graph. You see there are 2 points where the graph intersects the x-axis, the y equals 0 line. So these are x1 and 2. What else do we have here? We have B here. We have A, we have C, we have all these letters, and these are just the letters that we get from looking at our quadratic equation. So we have the coefficients, A that goes with the x squared, B that goes with x, and C is what we call the constant term because it doesn't depend on the variable, so it doesn't change when we change x, when we vary x. So this formula gives us solutions, two solutions, x1 and x2, that are a algebraic formula in the coefficients from our equation. So what do we have in our example here? We have A equals 2, we have B equals 4, and we have C equals negative 6. And what we do in order to find our two solutions, x1 and x2, we substitute in this formula. It's as simple as that. So how does that work? Well, let's just copy it. We have x1, 2 equals. Okay, we have a long fraction here. So the first term is negative b, right? So negative b is just negative 4 from right here. Then we have the plus minus sign. And why do we have plus minus? Because we're going to have two solutions. One solution will come from taking the plus sign of the square root, and the other will come from taking the negative sign. But initially we can write it together as just plus minus. Then we have a square root. We have b squared. Our b is 4, so we can write immediately 16. And then we have minus 4 times a. Our a is 2 times our c, which is negative 6. All this we divide by 2 times a, which is 2, so that'll be 4. Okay, let's look at this in more detail. That equals negative 4 plus minus the square root. Now we have 16, and we have two negatives here. We have negative 4 and negative 6. So a negative times a negative will give us a positive. What is the positive value? 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 6 is 48. So we have 16 plus 48. Again, we have a plus here because our c was negative. And we divide all this by 2 times 2, which is just 4. Okay, let's take another step. We have negative 4 plus minus, and now in the square root, let's add. 16 plus 48 is 64, right? 6 plus 8 is 14. We add that to 40, that's 54, plus another 10, it's 64. Okay, and if you remember your square roots here, the square root of 64 is exactly 8. So we know now that our x1, 2, our two x's are negative 4. Let me move things down a little bit so that we have a little more room. Okay, so let's erase that, write it more neatly. Okay, x1, 2 equals, now let's separate into our two solutions. So we have minus 4 plus the square root of 64, which is 8, divide by 4. Or we have minus 4 minus 8, right? That's the second solution, so this is the minus, divide by 4. And my negative 4 plus 8 is 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, right? And here we have negative 12 divided by 4, which is equal to negative 3. And if you look back here, you see these are the same results we would get for graphing our solution. So if you don't remember how to use the graphical method for finding the solutions, take a look at that video. Also, please check out the other videos about the quadratic formula, including the derivation and discussion of the discriminant, so you get a better feel for what this formula does. And it's all in the playlist, in the quadratic formula playlist. So thanks again for joining me. If this was helpful, please press that like button and join me for the next few videos.